Dan Solver here, and I want to talk to you about a new feature which I've contributed to the Sitecore Instance Manager. This is Solr support. So basically, you can use Sitecore Instance Manager to install a new version of Sitecore. It does it very quickly in about 30 seconds or so on my laptop. Currently, it creates a Sitecore instance with Lucene indexes, the default setup for Sitecore. But with this feature, we'll be able to change that to Solr indexes. Just reviewing what this feature does. You can look at the README. There's an overview of what it does. Basically, it changes the configuration files so that the Lucene ones are disabled and the Solr ones are enabled. There are a few exceptions which you can review. It changes the core name within each Solr configuration file so that it prefixes the name of the instance, so that if you have two different sites running that you've set up through Sitecore Instance Manager, they'll have different index names so they don't collide. And then it creates a starting point index. It just copies the collection 1 index. It ships with Solr 4 and uses that as a starting point to create each index. So it copies that for each index it's configured. It then calls the generate Solr schema XML wizard, which normally you'd have to go to the Sitecore desktop to run. And then it directly calls Solr's API in order to create each collection. So basically that puts you in a place where you can then build the indexes from the Sitecore desktop. So let's take a look at what that looks like. But before we do that, let's just walk you through the steps to actually get Solr running locally. Solr runs on Java, so you may not have Java installed. You can confirm that by opening a command prompt and just taking a look in your program files and see if you have Java. You see this autocompletes for me, so I'm good, but you may not be, in which case you could just go to java.com and just download Java and install it. It's pretty straightforward. There's one other thing you do need to do, which is you need to set an environment variable, Java home, because that's what Solr uses to find where Java is located. And you see I have that set up. But if you don't, it's easy to do. You just type path in your start menu, environment variables, edit environment variables for your account. And you see that I have this set up here. If you don't, you can just click new and set that up. And just put Java home. And then the path to the JRE folder that you've just installed. So once you have that in place, then you're in a position to download Solr. So again, we don't currently support Solr 5 or Solr 6 because we need that collection 1 directory. We will be working on that soon, I hope, so that we can support the latest versions of Solr. But right now, you just need to work with Solr 4. So you can get that by going to Download, Past Versions. And the last version of Solr 4 is Solr 4.10.4. So we can click that. And then you can download the zip, Solr 4.10.4.zip. And I've put these into a distro folder, so let's go there. So you see I have my zip right here, and I've actually unzipped it to this location. You see I have several different Solrs, but here's Solr 4.10.4. I don't believe I have that running. I confirmed that by going to localhost 8983/Solr. And this site can't be reached because I don't have it running, but we can fix that by going into the Solr directory. And now we just type bin/Solr start. We have the option of changing the port. So if we did not want to run that at port 8983, which is the default, we could change that to 9999, for example, or whatever we want. There's a valid port number, but we'll just use the default for this demo. It takes a moment to get running. And now we can go and refresh this page. And we see we have Solr running. And we see we have our collection 1 starting point, so we're good to go. But we don't have any other cores defined, just collection 1. And I will use core and collection interchangeably. They start to diverge in later versions of Solr, where you can have one collection supported by multiple cores. When you start to look at Solr Cloud, that's a different topic. I won't go into that for this recording. I'm just going to use these interchangeably. Core equals collection equals index. Okay, so let's go to Sitecore Instance Manager. Okay, so now I have Sitecore Instance Manager, and I can just click Install Instance. And it's important we work with Sitecore 8.2. The process of installing Solr with Sitecore 8.1 is a little bit different. I'll get to that at the end of this demo. Now let's call this Solr Demo 8.2. And then we want to skip ahead in the wizard until we get to configuration presets. The new feature is available here, configuration Sitecore 8.2, content search Solr. We want to click that. That's what's actually going to do all of the functionality that we reviewed earlier. So we'll get this started. And if we had several different things we were doing, let's say several packages we were installing, we could arrange the order of these. The main thing is that if you have, let's say, packages that have both Lucene and Solr files included, you'd want this step to run last so that it was capable of enabling the Solr files and disabling the Lucene files. Here we're just running it by itself, so that doesn't enter into it. Now we'll click install, and most of this will go pretty quickly. And when it gets down to this installing archive-based modules, we will get prompted to identify the URL for Solr. So we see it defaults to http://localhost 8983 Solr, which is good. That's what we have. But if, let's say, we wanted to, we're running Solr on a separate port. Let's say we wanted to test this against different versions of Solr, or we use different instances of Solr for different things, we could change that, and that would change that within the Sitecore Solr configuration file. We'll click OK, and that's now going to go create our indexes for us. So right now we just see collection 1, but if we refresh this, we see Solr Demo 8.2, and we see it's actually created these indexes for us. So we'll just focus on the Solr master index, which is what drives the content editor. And we see the wizard is done, so we can open this. We can open the Sitecore desktop. Log in. And we'll go to the content editor first and show that the index is not built. Content editor. We'll click on the Sitecore item, root item, search, and we'll just type enter. and we get no results. But we can fix that if we go to the desktop and we go to the control panel, indexing, index manager, and we'll just build the Sitecore master index. And we see items are getting added, and we should see those show up soon in Solr itself. So if we refresh this page, not yet. This takes us about a minute. And now that's finished. And we see that documents have been added. And I imagine 4627 is a different number from 17465 because of the different language versions, would be my guess. And now that this is done, you can go to the content editor, go to Sitecore, search, hit enter, and now we actually have our content. We see we have Japanese, we have various languages, so we could use the facets, for example, and just filter down to English. So we have Solr running. Now, the process of installing Solr has been greatly simplified with 8.2. If you want to install Solr with 8.1, you actually have to download a package. So if you go to dev.sitecore.net, you go to downloads, and we switch to Sitecore 8.1, you'll see that there is, under additional tools, Solr support package. And you need to download that. And you see Sitecore Solr support 1.0.0, revision 160504. And I think for earlier versions of 8.1 or possibly 8.0, that revision date changes. So you need to select the proper one. Then, if you install an instance, you can click 8.1, and we'll just call this demo 8.1. And the important thing is you have to add this module. So you click Add Module, and then you have to navigate. I have a number of these because I've done a lot of testing with it, but you have to navigate to the module you downloaded and add it that way. And then after you've done that, it will show up here. So now you can select it. You see I have different versions here. You need to select the module that corresponds to the Sitecore version that you are installing. So for instance, if you go back, you just need to make sure that the number here corresponds to the number of the one you downloaded, if you have multiple versions of Sitecore that you're working with. So I'll stop there, but this should get you started with Sitecore and Solr.